None of this is to build a charity. It's to build something that is a help to people, that offers hope in difficult situations and helps people to be able to stand on their own and live a better life. That's what Convoy of Hope is about.
My name is Buddy Teaster, President and CEO of Souls for Souls and host of the Repurpose podcast. Each episode offers candid conversations with business leaders and entrepreneurs who share the ups and downs, wins and challenges they face along the way, and how they learn to overcome them. These are real stories of real people going from tailspin to tailwind, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. So today we're going to get a chance to hear from Ethan Forhetz, who's the national spokesman for Convoy of Hope. They've been a long-time Souls for Souls partner, so it's always a pleasure to talk with somebody we already know. But hopefully you will get a sense of the scale and the impact of this amazing organization. They are doing things all over the world, and they are working toward a goal by 2030 of feeding 1 million kids every school day, which is incredible. But they do so much more, and this is a chance to get to hear it from somebody who's inside the organization and can talk about the way they think about impact and investment decisions, but most important, how they stay focused on the need and their purpose. It's a great conversation. Hope you enjoy it. All right, Ethan, welcome to this edition of the Repurpose podcast. It's a pleasure to be talking with you again.
Buddy, it's great to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
So there are two things I'd like to start with. One is your personal story and one is about Convoy of Hope. But given that we can see in your background that you were in the warehouse, probably not your home, but of Convoy of Hope, maybe you can start with a little bit about your organization and what you guys do.
Yeah, Convoy of Hope, we're an international aid organization. We work around the world to try to end generational poverty in three main ways. Children's feeding program. We make sure kids have nutritious meals at their school. Currently, we're feeding 677,000 plus kids every school day around the world. They get their meal from Convoy of Hope. We tie those meals to schools because what we're trying to do is help the kids eventually be self-sufficient. We want them to be able to get a good education. So our nutritionists here on staff at Convoy of Hope make sure those meals have all the vitamins and nutrients that the child needs for an entire day, because it's sadly but likely the only meal of the day that child is going to receive. It's also incentive for the parents to get those children to school to get the meal that's going to help them go the rest of the day. So we have a children's feeding program. We also have a women's empowerment program in which we go into countries where women are not many times respected the way that they are in the United States. Many times they don't have an education and can't get one, and have children and no way to provide for them. So Convoy goes in, we do a study in a community to find out what kind of business is needed. We teach a woman in our program those job skills, then we give her equipment to start a business, and then we come alongside her for the next year or so and make sure she can manage that business. And then we take our hands off and she takes off, and she's able to pull her family out of generational poverty. The kids grow up in the business knowing how to run it and operate it, so it kind of keeps them going through generations. Another thing that we do to end generational poverty, and these three programs really work together well, it's agriculture. Because we've learned one thing, buddy, that when people can grow their own food, guess what? They don't need our food. So we want them to be self-sufficient. So we have experts on staff. We have a lot of crops that we grow through agriculture here at our headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. We can replicate climates and soils from around the world. So when we go in someplace, we know what's going to grow there. We can increase farmer yields by 200, 300% and really make a difference in their lives that is sustainable. Now they can grow enough food for their own family. They grow excess that they can sell. And that's cyclical. The kids, again, grow up learning how to farm properly. We also have what we call community events in this country, where we have a one-stop shop. And really what we're doing is drawing a crowd to a place, whether it's a church parking lot or a city park, a big space where we can draw all of the organizations in that community together for one-stop shopping. Convoy draws the crowd by giving away free groceries and shoes and socks from Souls for Souls for kids many times, and backpacks and school supplies and hygiene items that people need. But what we're doing is we're getting them in touch with these great organizations in their area that already exist that maybe they don't know about or haven't been put in touch with that can help them longer term. So those are community events that we have all across this country. And then what we're most known for, I think, is disaster responses. Sure. Last year, we responded to 92 disasters in this country and around the world. There's constantly something going on that Convoy of Hope is responding to. And your partnership is great for all of these, but really it's timely whenever there's a disaster that happens and we need some product from Souls for Souls to help people get back on their feet.
Okay, I have 10,000 questions just in your first introduction. But first, how did you get connected to Convoy of Hope? I know you have a career as a broadcaster, and it can't be unrelated to what you're doing now, but how did you wind up at Convoy of Hope?
Well, I spent 25 years in local television news as an anchor. My wife as well, both of us were. We ended up getting married. We met at the TV station here in Springfield, Missouri, where Convoy is located, 20 years ago. So we worked together in news for 15 years at the NBC affiliate here in Springfield. So we really got to know Convoy of Hope because we knew some of the people who worked here, incredible people. But we also, as journalists in town, got to kind of look at Convoy with a critical eye, you know? Are they on the up and up? All of that sort of thing is how we looked at them, and we found that indeed they are. It's a great organization. And there came a time when both my wife and I, we were talking, and we were both feeling this independently, and then we kind of came together on it, that we were both feeling like it was weird, but it was time for us to do something else with our skill set. We didn't know what exactly, but we wanted to do something that we felt like was more part of the actual day-to-day solution. Not that news can't be a solution, but we just wanted to feel like we were doing something a little more proactive to help people on a daily basis. And Sarah, my wife, had gone with Convoy on a trip, covering them as a journalist, probably 8 years prior to us moving over to Convoy, to cover their women's empowerment program in Tanzania. It was her first trip to Africa. She was amazed by what Convoy of Hope was doing there and the results that were happening through our women's empowerment program. So she really got to see Convoy from the inside out. And there had been some discussions over the years following that about her maybe moving over. And it was never really something that we considered because we felt like we were doing what we were supposed to be doing in news at the time. And then there came a time, it was actually during 2020, so I think when everybody was reevaluating everything during COVID and all of the other stuff that was going on in a very tumultuous year. But we kind of independently felt like, I feel like we should be doing something that would be more a part of the solution. So we talked about it, and she had been talking with Convoy just on and off, so she called her contact at Convoy and said, hey, you know, now may be the time, would be willing to have a conversation. So they met and had a conversation, and during that she said, you know, I think Ethan may be willing to have a conversation as well.
Are you a package deal?
And well, not necessarily, but in this case, we were. So we ended up both having discussions with Convoy, and Convoy really is a great family place. There are lots of couples who work here. There are some kids who work here. So it's really a family in every sense of the word. So they don't frown on that at all. In fact, they love for families to work together because it's buy-in from everybody, right, about what the family is doing together. So there came an opportunity, and we decided to move over to Convoy of Hope. We got to stay in town, and where we've been raising our kids, and it's been a great experience since. My wife has since stepped away for scheduling reasons, but I'm here, and I get to do things like this, talk with you, Buddy, and so I get to use some of the skill set I used from television, but also to tell a good news story.
Yes, you do. I mean. Yes, you do. And I think also probably helpful to have that journalistic capability as well, to look at things not just from the inside, but understand how it will play out once it's out in the wild.
I can anticipate what the questions are going to be before they're asked.
I
yes, sir.
You can. Ethan, before we go on, can you give a sense of scale of Convoy? I know when we talked before, even though I knew a little bit, I was blown away at both your infrastructure there in Missouri, but as well as your footprint in the world. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. We, at this location in Springfield, this is our campus, and we just added on to it with a global headquarters and training center in 2023, so it's a couple of years old now. We have a 200,000 square foot global headquarters and training center right next to the World Distribution Center, and that's what I'm in now. And you can, the forklift, it's always working. The forklifts are always moving behind me, bringing in product, sending product out, whatever that is. But it's about a 170,000 square foot warehouse in this building. We also have our U.S. disaster fleet housed in this building. We're also right in the finishing phases now, and we're really excited about this, but a new manufacturing and packaging facility where we will begin later this year, we think, putting together meals that we will be able to send to our children's feeding program around the world and to food pantries and churches all across this country to help supplement people who are struggling at the end of the month. That's going to be a game changer. We can talk more about that as we go, but that's going to be a game changer for Convoy of Hope. Because we'll be able to bring in beans and rice and package them up and then send them out. Cereals, macaroni and cheese, powdered milk we'll be able to do. So lots of different things, pastas that we'll be able to make in this manufacturing facility and package up so that we can send them out during times of disaster and just during the regular days of the year when people are struggling. So we're excited about that. We also have, last year we opened our second regional distribution center. It's located in Atlanta, Georgia. That is a 130 square foot warehouse. We also have a branch of our U.S. disaster fleet there as well, because we spend a lot of time along the southeastern coast and the Gulf Coast during hurricane season. So we're much closer to that. It saves more than a day's worth of driving for us from here in Springfield, Missouri. And then in 2023, we also opened our very first regional distribution center in Sacramento, California. So we have I think it's a 120,000 square foot warehouse there. And that's been a real godsend for us because the LA wildfires last year in January, you'll recall, a lot of our products came from that Sacramento distribution center. And then even before it officially opened, we were sending from there on the West Coast over to Maui for the wildfires that took place there. So we hadn't even officially opened that warehouse, but we were utilizing it to send product, and we knew immediately that, man, this was a great decision. So we're hoping for more of those regional distribution centers across this country to get us closer to where things may happen and just the regular needs, everyday needs of people across the United States. And then we're working on a regular basis with children's feeding, women's empowerment, agriculture in 40 countries around the world. We have worked in 137 countries in total, whether that's a disaster or our programming. And a lot of times, a disaster will open the door to programming in an area. So we get in following a disaster. Haiti's a good example of that. The earthquake there, 2010 or 11,
2010,
I think.
yep.
We were in there working, and we did such a good job with the disaster relief. We said, hey, we have children's feeding that we could tie to schools, and we think it could be a help to the people. And they allowed us to do that. So now we're feeding more than 100,000 kids in Haiti every school day. But my point is that a lot of times a disaster will bring us to that area, and then it allows us to set down some roots there and build the foundation of our programs to help countries that need it.
Incredible. So I have two questions related to that, Ethan. How do you guys fund yourselves? So that's the first part. The second part is, and it's got to be related, how do you make these big capital decisions to these massive expansions in terms of the kitchen, additional warehouses? I'm sure those are long-term investment decisions that might be complicated in an environment where you rely a lot on philanthropy. So where do your resources come from, and how do you make those big decisions?
Yeah, the resources come from three main areas. Corporations, a lot, thanks to you for being one of them and donating a lot of the product that we have on these shelves. Most of it is donated by great corporations like Souls for Souls, who help us, and organizations that help us with the product. So corporations, as well as individuals, people that just go to our website, convoyofhope.org, and they want to make a donation. People that we've had relationships with in the past that just support us that way. And then also churches. Churches are a great partner of ours. For one thing, let's say a disaster scene, when we're going into an area following a disaster or even during a disaster, we're on the phone with the church partners that we know in that area, because there are several churches in every community across this country and many around the world as well. They have volunteers that we can call on whenever we get there and need help distributing stuff. And then it's the church being the church in the community. It's the community helping the community. It's not just us doing it. So those are the three main areas that we are able to draw resources from: corporations, individuals, and churches. And then churches will have our speakers come in once a year or so on a Sunday or on a Wednesday night or whatever, to just tell the story of Convoy of Hope and to talk about the initiative that they would like for us to talk about, whether it's children's feeding or agriculture, whatever that is. And then they will take an offering and they will donate that offering to Convoy of Hope. So that's what a lot of churches do that allow us to be great partners. And then we end up many times, you know, we don't want it to happen, but a disaster happens in their area.
Yeah.
And there we are on their parking lot. So they're thrilled about that partnership. And then your second question was, how do we make decisions about capital things? We really look to what the need is. And that manufacturing facility is a perfect example of this. I'll tell you how that came about. Our goal, we're currently feeding 677,000 children every school day around the world. I mentioned that. Our goal is 1 million kids
Incredible.
every school day by 2030. And that's coming right up. That's right around the corner. You know what I mean? So as we, a couple of years ago, were looking at how we're going to accomplish this goal of ours, we realized that there aren't enough of the meals that we send out currently being manufactured for us to feed 1 million kids every school day. So that posed a problem. And as we were talking about it, we talked with our board about it, and we thought that the right thing to do was to create our own manufacturing and packaging facility that would alleviate this problem for us and really allow us to scale up in a major way. The sky is really the limit whenever you have your own manufacturing facility, and you can, you know, we're going to start out with 4 automated lines. We can switch that up to 8 lines. We can expand it if we need to. We can have several shifts during the day if that's what it comes to, and we would be able to, even, you know, we're talking more than 1 billion meals a year eventually down the road is possible.
Incredible.
We're not going to start out with that,
right?
But the sky is the limit there if we get the people behind us to believe in what we're doing and help us support that. So we had that vision, and we went for it. Our founder is a guy who says, you know what, that here's the need. We need to meet the need. How are we going to do that? And then figure out a way. So we started building that, and I'm thrilled to tell you that we had great donors come in alongside us. So even before it's finished, they're on the finishing touches right now. I got to tour it on Friday for the first time. It looks incredible, but once that's operating, I won't be allowed on the floor down there. You know how that goes.
You'd look great in a hairnet, though, Ethan. You would.
I'll give it a try. I don't know about that. But we were able to move in to that facility completely debt-free, which is just a huge blessing. So that's what we've seen time and time again. It happened with our global headquarters and training center next door. It happened with this World Distribution Center that I'm standing in. We had this dream, and we felt like the people would support it if they knew what it was, why we're doing it, and that has been the case. We moved into this building, and our global headquarters completely debt-free as well.
Bravo! What a great story. So
well, it's a testament. It's a testament to our supporters, our partners, our donors, and you guys are them. That really allow us to do the work. We've been blessed with a great team of partners, donors, corporations, other charity organizations that want to do it together. Because you understand, we understand that no one organization can do it by themselves. It takes everybody working together.
Well, that's a great segue to a question that, for me, came right out of your introduction about the different programs that you have.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about the self-sufficiency piece, the economic empowerment, agriculture? How do those things go together? Where are the intersections? Where are the things where, you know, are you working in urban areas where agriculture is not an option? So can you just talk a little bit about some of the details in there?
Yeah. A lot of times where we are is rural areas. They're outside of city limits. Now, we do work in bigger cities as well around the world. But when we can have our program, our founder talks about in the video of how Convoy of Hope came together, as he was realizing that it started out with children's feeding, and then we added women's empowerment, and then we added agriculture. And then we realized that when these 3 things work together, we're not adding to, we're multiplying the effect that we're able to have. Because let's say the children's feeding program. A lot of the produce can come from our agriculture program in that community. The farmers will donate product to the children's feeding initiative at the school. The women's empowerment, a lot of times the women will go and work in the kitchen of the school to help prepare the product for the students. So it really, when all 3 work together, It's seamless, and it really begins to create in a community this idea of self-sufficiency. Like, hey, this is how it works. Let's just keep doing this. My favorite story on our website, and it's like 7 minutes long. If you're interested, go type in convoyofhope.org, search for Nepal earthquake, and it's an incredible story. But the gist of it is this, that there was a devastating earthquake in 2015. Convoy of Hope was giving people food for today, which meant we also had to give them food for tomorrow, which is not our long-term plan. But we said, we can teach you agriculture if you want to learn. And they were doing some farming there, just not to great success. So they said, yeah, we want to learn. So we taught them agriculture, and there's a Nepalese man in the story that says, 1 year ago, farming on my own, I was making 1,500 rupees. 1 year later, after learning how to farm properly by Convoy of Hope, I'm now making 60,000 rupees. So wow. I don't know how much a rupee's worth, but if you go from 1,500 to 60,000 jelly beans, it's life-changing, right?
Right.
So that's an incredible increase that he has seen. He can grow enough food to support his family, grow enough excess to go sell it at nearby villages. And when we opened our global headquarters next door in 2023, our contact from that story was here. And I said, hey, you're the guy from TV, from that Nepal story. That's my favorite story. And he said, yeah, and I was just there. I was just in Nepal, again, 2 weeks ago, and this is back in 23. But he said that village is now making 10,000 US dollars a day, buddy, just on tomato exports.
Wow.
Yeah. It's revolutionized that village. But so they're self-sufficient. They're running on their own. The best news of all is that Convoy of Hope is no longer working in that village.
Right.
We've been able to take our knowledge and expertise elsewhere to help other people, and this village is running on their own, seeing great success. Who knew, but the tea that they grow there, we gave them some tea saplings. The tea that they grow there is sought after among tea drinkers around the world. So life is good in Nepal, and people are moving back to that village. It's become the model for all of Nepal on how to farm. Those are the success stories that I just love to see. It keeps you going, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So, Ethan, I'm going to flip it around a little bit. The book that I had a chance to write last year is called Tailspin to Tailwind. And a lot of it's about Souls for Souls and how we got things turned around. But every organization, as big and as successful as Convoy of Hope is, not every decision was right 100% of the time. So can you talk about some of the decisions or times when Convoy of Hope was like, oh, this is a dead end or wrong bet, and how you got back on track?
Yeah, over the years, there have been times when Convoy has gotten into something that didn't work. Specific examples, I'm lacking at some of the specific examples because they have, since I've been here, they haven't made any mistakes. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I've been here 6 years now, and there aren't any that jump out at me from the 6 years. But I was just with our founder this morning, Hal Donaldson. He's got an incredible background and story. But he was saying that what he's learned and he's put into practice at Convoy of Hope is that you don't ever fail. You just, it's a learning experience. You learn what works, what not to do, how not to do it, and you figure out what does work, and you focus on the things that do work. So we're not afraid to make mistakes around here. Obviously, nobody's looking to make a mistake, but we're not afraid of mistakes. And a lot of times, the mistakes are what bring out the proper way to do it, or a new way of doing it that you hadn't considered before. So we're not happy about mistakes, but we're happy about the outcome from mistakes many times. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Ethan, what are the things that you think you will have to be able to do in terms of your team and partners and I don't know what else to get to the million kids that you're feeding as an example, or to expand your programming? Like, what's the next? You said the sky's the limit on the manufacturing side. How do you think about the next 24, 36 months and what that means for Convoy of Hope?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be getting our manufacturing facility up and running. And I think one of the things that we've really seen is that when people come here and see this facility and the organization and the excellence with which, honestly, Convoy of Hope does everything, they are taken aback by it and they want to be more involved. So the more we can get people to come here and to visit and to see our facilities, and obviously everybody can't do that, and we tell the story on social media and on our website, all that sort of thing. But we love for people to come visit and see what it is that's happening here and the scale of it and how it works. And I think the manufacturing facility is going to be a major draw for people, certainly for corporations who want to partner and want to see what we're doing and how we're doing it, because a lot of them work in this sort of field, right? They do this sort of thing. So they can see the excellence with which we're going to do it, and not only that, but the impact of what we're doing, the sustainability piece of helping kids grow up to be self-sustainable and be able to take care of themselves, which we believe most people can do. Sometimes it takes help, but people can get to that point if they have the right instruction and just a little guidance along the way, and help. I mean, I've had help in my life. You've had help in your life. Help is something that a lot, in America, I think a lot of times we frown on help. Somebody helping us, you feel weak somehow. But man, if you take that and utilize it, it becomes just something that can launch you to where you're supposed to be.
You then have a question, maybe it's a little more internal to Convoy of Hope. I know we're a tiny fraction of the size of you guys, but there's this constant tension, I think mostly good, between running a good business and being good stewards of, I don't know, you have a $700 million budget or something like that. It's a lot of money, and it's mostly philanthropy. So you've got to be a good steward, and you've got to be super focused on the mission. And at the same time, you've got to run a good business. There needs to be a lot of discipline. And, you don't get to run a manufacturing facility just based on everybody feeling good about the mission. So,
right.
And you got guys on forklifts, wheeling. So how do you guys talk about those trade-offs? How do you navigate them on your executive team, et cetera, to keep that mission in front, but recognize you have to be good stewards along the way?
Well, honestly, it starts with good stewardship for us. It's very important to Convoy of Hope to be good stewards. More than 90 cents of every dollar goes where the donor wants it to go at Convoy of Hope. So we work to look for ways to sustain that, because it's not easy. When you get to be a certain size, it takes a lot of people to run it. And you have to be a place where people want to work. So you have to reward them with a good income if you want the best people. That's all part of it. But even so, we're able to maintain that more than 90 cents of every dollar goes where the donor wants it to go. And a lot of that is figuring out ways where we can, it's not cutting corners, but it is figuring out what can volunteers do for us? Where can we have volunteers step in? So the majority, you'll probably be surprised to know this, but the majority of our truck drivers are volunteer truck drivers. And we've got trucks on the road every day, all day.
That is, I'm shocked at that, actually. So how do you do that? How do you get a truck driver who's only making money when he or she's driving to volunteer?
Well, truck drivers have amazingly big hearts, and these are guys and gals who have driven a truck their whole life. They've retired, and at a fairly young age, but in their retirement, they want to do something to help people. And we say, well, we have trucks you can drive, right? And they say, okay, well, I know how to drive a truck. I can do that. And then they're driving these supplies that you see behind me to disaster scenes. They do that one time, and they never stop doing it.
Yeah.
Because they see the people who are affected by it. Now they are part of the solution. They're donating their time. They're driving a truck, which is their skill set. That's what they know how to do. But now they're doing it for different reasons, and it is so fulfilling. I love to be on a disaster site, and they're very long days on a disaster scene, 16-hour days. Get up early, work late. So we're having dinner at maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night after the workday. And I love to sit down with these truck drivers and just hear their stories and to find out, how did you end up coming to Convoy? And it's a remarkable story every time. But these are really salt of the earth people who want to help others, and now they're doing it with their lives. So we rely on a lot of volunteers. Let's see. Let me see if I can remember the stat. We had 38 volunteer truck drivers last year donate 465 days of service to Convoy of Hope.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and they're great drivers too. It's not like, you know, we're loosening the restrictions or requirements. These are great drivers. They have great track records, and they just want to do something that helps them sleep well at night.
It's, there are trade-offs being a not-for-profit, right? Sometimes it's hard to raise capital. It's hard to sometimes measure your effectiveness, but there are some great things about the model that allow you to leverage that kind of expertise that otherwise those truck drivers are staying at home, right? Maybe they're not finding a way to put their talents to use. So that's a great example of, definitely not cutting corners, but leveraging what people are good at.
Well, and Federal Express is a great partner of ours, and a couple of years, I don't know if they're still doing it, I think they are, but I know they were a couple of years ago. For their top drivers, I think they maybe have 10 top drivers that win an award for safety and effectiveness. The reward, their reward was to come drive a truck for Convoy of Hope for a week or two. Isn't that amazing? I used to love seeing them, and they would just love it. They love being part of it. So I think people are looking in general for hope right now. I mean, there's a lot that you can dwell on that's negative, what's going on in the world around us. But people are looking for hope. They're looking for good stories, and they want to be a part of it. So give them the opportunity, and they'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to ask you one more question before our final question, and I touched on this a minute ago. How do you guys think about your effectiveness and impact? I mean, you talked about people served and countries and how many meals, which are important, but not the whole story usually. So how do you guys think about your impact and measuring that?
We love it when we are able to, just like that Nepal story I mentioned, move out of a community. To us, that's the greatest thing. I mean, we love the people. We don't want to have to. We don't enjoy leaving, but we want them to be on their own. That's why we came in to begin with, is to help them be self-sufficient, running on their own, using what they've learned to do it on their own and to pass it down generationally. That's what I think is the greatest success story that we have, is when we've left an area. And when we move in, there is a plan to leave. We don't want to be somewhere forever. Our goal is to help them set up a system that is sustainable, that's able to be a blessing to the people, that gives them some work to do and a result of their work that helps them live their lives better. And when we get to do that and see it happen and then pull out of an area because they don't need us, that's the best there is.
That's a great way to think about it. So the last question, Ethan, is our usual last question, and it's a personal one.
Yeah.
You had a long career in broadcast. You've been 6 years at Convoy of Hope. What do you want to remember about right now in 20 years? So not where do you want to be in 20 years, but when you're however old you are in 20 years from now, when you look back and say, this was a great thing about this moment that we're in.
Well, I think the growth that's happening at Convoy of Hope, I think is something that I'll look back at. I moved here to the organization where we were on a different campus altogether. In fact, we were on 3 different campuses. So this building was just getting started, this World Distribution Center on this new campus that we were beginning. I was here for the building and the opening of our global headquarters and training center. I'm going to be here, Lord willing, for the opening of our for the opening of our manufacturing facility that's right behind this building. I think in 20 years I will look at Convoy of Hope and where it is, because right now we're number 27 on the Forbes list of largest charities in the United States. I will look back and say, wow, I can't believe. Part of me can't believe where they are now, but another part of me will say, yeah, that's what we worked towards. That's what we were doing. Not to build a charity. Again, none of this is to build a charity. It's to build something that is a help to people, that offers hope in difficult situations and helps people to be able to stand on their own and live a better life. That's what Convoy of Hope is about: kindness and generosity.
Well, Ethan, I can't think of a better way to end. So thank you for that. Thanks for spending that much time on your feet talking while everything was happening behind you, and for being such an incredible partner with Souls for Souls. I mean, the fact that we have found so many interesting, important ways to work together it brings me joy every time we get a chance to talk to you and to talk about Convoy of Hope. So thanks for everything that you're doing.
Well, I can't thank you enough for what Souls for Souls and your partners are doing for Convoy of Hope. This is something that no one organization takes credit for. We do it all together, and it's a good template for the rest of the world to see how we can work together to really bring good to people who need it. So thank you to Souls for Souls. Buddy, it's great to be with you.
All right. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks for joining us on the Repurpose Podcast with me, Buddy Teaster. You can follow this show at buddyteaster.com/podcast, and you can learn more about what we do at s4s.org. If you like this content, please share, rate, and review our episodes wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And until next time, I ask you to ask yourself, what's your why? And how will discovering that help give your life a repurpose?